Hello, for those who are joining. We are going to get started in about 3 minutes. Thank you so much for being here tonight for the first ever virtual book launch for LaTonia Monroe Naylor, Monroe Naylor Consulting. If you have your books already, I know some of y'all do, you can feel more than happy to show everybody what you're working with. I know some of y'all are waiting still, dearest. I know you're still waiting for yours. I thank you for supporting the work that I'm doing. I grew up in Springfield for most of my life. Outside of my dad being in the military and living a couple of places outside of Springfield, I lived in a project. I lived in the hood. It was violence happening every day. There was bullets flying through the windows, or people running into your house if you forgot to lock your door because they're running from the police. Like, those are real things that we went through growing up in the neighborhoods that we grew up in. I was going back and forth with my coach on it, and I said, no, it needs to be what I want people to become from reading this book. Not where you're at, but where you're going. Because what happens a lot of times is when we target the scarcity aspect of things, then that's what you attract. And you know, instead of attracting people that want to grow, you attract people that are just in the situation.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mz Tash, yours truly. Welcome to our podcast, here with my co-host,
Trizzmatic.
Yes, and we are here, Counting Me Out Productions podcast, and we have a special guest today. Yes. And I'm just so excited to introduce to y'all LaTonia Monroe Naylor, who you're probably looking like, wait a minute, I'm kind of seeing double, right? No, you're actually not. She is my sister. She's my older sister, and she has so much going on. I'm so proud of her. She's a CEO for a nonprofit organization called Parent Villages, which is located in Springfield, Massachusetts. She is a mother, a wife. She just opened up her new church, the dwelling place. And then I have to say this. She is a new author, okay? And this is her book, Mission Rich and Profit Powered. And so we're definitely gonna get into this, talking about this, but first, I want the world to be able to see who LaTonia is. So, who is LaTonia?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Like you just said, I wear a lot of hats. One hat that I am so proud of is that I started my own business full-time a couple of years ago, Monroe Naylor Consulting. So that work has allowed me to really take all of the hats that I wear and be able to couple them into this platform to be able to educate people. I call myself the chief business educator. You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
And the reason why I say that is that you have to look at academics as more than just pre-K through 12 or college or what have you. It really is the essence of our day-to-day. And so all of the things that I've learned in the school of hard knocks, in a way of speaking, I put it into this book as a premise, I would say, because it's not going to be my last book, it's the first. But it allows me to give people a window into how is it that I've been able to accomplish some of the things that I've accomplished, but also keeping my faith intact, keeping my family as my priority, my marriage intact. Like, all of these things have been so important to me. So being able to do that along with building what I believe is going to be an empire is just, it's not good if I'm keeping it to myself. I got to share that information with other people.
Right. I appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
So before we get into the book, let's bring it back a little bit. Let's talk. I know, of course, I grew up with you, so there's some things that I see in my lens, right? But talk a little bit about your childhood, like where you come from, because we know where you are now.
Right.
You know, you're very successful in all that you've been doing. So let's talk about where you come from.
Well, it's a long journey. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times people see us where we are now and they have no idea of what we went through to get where we are. And if you're really authentic and empathetic, you're not just going to speak to people about the now. You are going to speak about the before. And I'm unashamed of where I came from. I'm unashamed of the fact that I grew up in Springfield for most of my life. Outside of my dad being in the military and living a couple of places outside of Springfield, I lived in the projects. I lived in the hood. It was violence happening every day. There was bullets flying through the windows, or people running into your house if you forgot to lock your door because they're running from the police. Like, those are real things that we went through growing up in the neighborhoods that we grew up in. But I was blessed that for some reason God's hand was on me even then, because I had people looking out for me and they saw my potential, and they just would not let me get engaged in some of the activities that they were engaged in. It was like, no, this is not for you. You got to go to school. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I thank God for them. Some of them are not even here anymore with us, but they looked out for me, you know, so that allowed me to stay focused on school and everything like that, in spite of all the trauma and all the stuff that I had to deal with growing up.
Wow. And so just thinking about growing up, you know, I got to pull this out, right? Because I'm an artist. I'm an MC.
Yes.
Trizzmatic is an MC.
Yes.
So we know.
But I'm an MC.
Yeah. So have you ever been an MC?
Yes. Will all the real MCs please stand up?
Right.
I mean, I love arts and music. I do. And the reason why I love and value it is because it helped me to keep my focus from going insane. Like I said, you have bullets coming through your house, you got people acting crazy, people that you love dying from drugs or getting shot. You are going to jail. You just up and find out they're gone. The people that you knew and loved, and now all of a sudden they're gone, and they're in prison for the rest of their life. And it's like, those things can really traumatize you if you don't have a channel and an outlet. And so for me, music was my channel. I still have some of my songs that I did back in the day that really, I had to just get it out. You know what I'm saying? And I had the opportunity to open up for Biz Markie one time. So that was like lit, right? I got to meet Tribe Called Quest out in UMass, and I got to open up for a show that they were doing out there. So it's like, I had this closeness and this love with music because of what it did for me. But when I changed my life and got into church and everything, it was like, it shifted. You know, my love and my passion of how I served and how I shared shifted into a different direction. But I won't forget that part of me. That's still always gonna be a part of me.
What was that moment that made you shift?
Wow. So that moment that made me shift, funny. I was leaving from the studio. I was 16. And it's funny that this moment was the shifting from the music, but also drove me to the music even more, right? And so when I was 16, December 23rd, 1996, I was leaving the studio, and some guys tried to jump on my friend, and a bullet went off and I got shot. And so when I got shot, it was like, I'm laying there thinking I'm gonna die, because you get shot in the chest, you think you probably ain't gonna make it. And I remember being in so much pain, and I was just screaming out, God, I'm not fit to live, I'm not fit to die. And I saw a light. Thankfully, it wasn't the end. You know, it was the ambulance coming to take me and stuff like that. But the thing that happened through that situation was like, I took a lot of that anger and hurt, and I poured it into my music. But that was also when I really found God. Like, if it wasn't for that experience, I don't think, like, my grandmother showing up to the hospital and saying she was praying for me and God had me on her mind, and like, it was too much of a coincidence that I got shot that close with a bullet that big and I didn't die. So I knew that God had a plan for me, but I also knew at that moment that music had to be my outlet. Like, I didn't know God enough to run to him at that moment, other than just that quick prayer. And, you know, I went to church and stuff, but that didn't last long. And, you know, I was young. And then when I got older, I found God again. And when I got older, like around 19, that's when I kind of left the music alone completely and just jumped into church and jumped into mentoring youth and stuff like that.
Can you go in a little deeper into what made you put the music away and just, you know, close that chapter and then open up this new chapter that you were interested in?
That's such a loaded question, and I kind of have to think back, like, what was happening. And there were a lot of things that I forgot about, and so it wasn't until a few years ago I actually circled back to my friend, the one that we were together in that night. And I had some things in my heart that I held against him for a long time, and I just felt like I wanted to release myself from that. So I found him on Instagram and we connected, and I kind of unloaded that, and he really appreciated it, and he apologized to me as well. But he said to me, when you were going through that, you were in a very dark place. And he said, you just turned cold. Like, I knew you were there, but you were distant, and I didn't know how to find you. I didn't know how to reach you. And that's where my music was with me. It was like that was a part of my life that was so dark at that moment. And so when I found God, it was like, I didn't want to be in a studio with people getting high. I didn't want to be around the people that were, you know, talking about what they're going to do after and want to go clubbing, because I didn't want that. I wanted this. I wanted God. I wanted a cleaner life. I wanted a different direction than what I was used to. Right. And so I didn't know how to articulate that at that age. I think now, if it would be different, I could have probably said to them, like, I don't want this going on or whatever, and they would have respected it, because they, even a year later, they called me back like, are you sure you don't want to do music anymore? I'm like, and Jermaine Dupri wanted to meet me. Like, I had an opportunity to really be big, but I just didn't have that passion anymore for the music the way that I had it before. And I think it was because I wasn't in that place of pain. Like, it was a different kind of journey I was on now. And so getting into the working with the young people and all of that stuff became my new thing. Like, why were these kids out here? Why did they feel like they had to shoot me? What happened? Like, that became more important to me than me now being able to articulate how I'm feeling. Now I want to know how to reach people so that they're not in that same mindset.
That's interesting, because as your sister, you know, I was around and I was able to kind of see, even though I was younger, I didn't fully understand all what was going on. Like, I remember the night of you getting shot and, you know, us having to go to the hospital. Like, I remember all of those things. I even kept the coat that you had. She had one of those Sherlins, like, they're real, like, and I literally kept it. I think I had just gave it back to you about a year ago.
Yeah, and it's still in my car.
And it still has the bullet where she got shot. It has that mark. You know, and so I kind of just kept it almost like a trophy type thing, like to know that my sister survived, right. You know, this thing, you know. And so also think about, like, we talked about how we're all MCs, and even though you decided to go your, you know, another path with it, I feel like in a way you passed the baton to me, because that was around the time I started writing, and I didn't, but now hearing it like this, I'm making that connection. Yeah. You know, it's amazing.
And then I literally took my love and put it like towards you, like supporting you and your work. I even did a couple verses on songs that you did in the beginning. Like
I was trying.
Yeah, because I really loved it, but I couldn't do it. It was like I couldn't do it anymore. Like I was saying, this is not your journey. This is somebody else's journey. And like, so I was good with undergirding you and your journey and being okay that I didn't have to be the one in the spotlight, you know?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So I want to say thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You know, because I've always looked up to you and everything, you know, even though Mz Tash is Mz Tash, but to know that, you know, you showed me like it could happen, I can do this. Yes. And so that's why I take my music and I take it to that next level, you know. So.
And you do a wonderful job with it.
Oh, thank you.
I'm always very proud of your music. I'm like, this is my sister, y'all. Mz Tash in the house.
Speaking of us doing some songs together, I learned a lot from this moment. That time when we were in front of the church.
I remember.
And I forgot my lyrics. I completely forgot my lyrics. I got up there and I'm like, it's gifted lyrics, because at the time I was known as gifted lyricist because I was doing gospel rap. So I'm like, it's gifted lyricist, and I'm going, and I don't even remember. It's like my brain everything just went blank. And she's trying to clue me in, so she's saying certain words, and I'm like, I just like, forget. That was like embarrassing, but yet it taught me a lot. You know, to always make sure you're prepared and really, really know your stuff. Like, not just think, oh, I wrote it a week ago and I know it. No, make sure, because then when all those nerves start hitting you, you know, you're like, it's a lot.
It was a good teachable moment. I was able to like, now you know why I said da 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 da. Now you know why I said da da da. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was so embarrassed. I was
like, it's all good. It's like 5 people in the audience. No, it was a little bit more than that. But yeah, it was an opportunity for us to learn and to grow.
Yeah.
Because, for me, I kind of had to carry that too.
Right.
And I felt like it was part of the nerves, but I felt like it was part of the intimidation of me and you being together. Like,
that's what it was.
With you not being with me, you were fine. But the minute we were on together, it was like, like starstruck. I'm like, no, don't even go there. You are good. You got this.
Yeah, I was so nervous because seeing you, every time I seen you, you were on stage. Performing and stuff. And I was always the younger sister, just like watching her big sister. So now I'm with the big sister and I got to make sure I'm keeping up because I know she got bars and I got to make sure I
remember the first time I knew that you had bars. I was with a group, we were like probably about 14 years old. We had ended up sneaking into the Panache.
Yes.
This had to be like 94.
Yes.
Somewhere. And you was with a group.
Yes.
And you was up on stage. I'm like, is that Tony out there? What is she doing spitting bars? And then I'm listening and I'm like, she actually good though. We stood there. We was like kind of in the front, like, just watching your whole thing.
I legit had to start rapping with guys. Because I could not rap. None of the girls that I rap with could keep up.
Yeah, they couldn't rap.
They couldn't. One of them, oh my God.
Don't be jelly because your rhymes are smelly. That was her bar. It was like.
And everybody in the party was like, boo. I was like, oh my God, that's so messed up. Like, what if I would have said that? But I think even if I said that, I would have said it a little different.
Yeah, you would have made it sound.
I just said a little different. But yeah, all the females that I rap with, I had to move into rapping with guys. And it was just, it was good. They called me the Killer Bee before Queen Bee.
Oh, that's fine.
I was the Killer Bee.
Look, I think we might want to have to drink to that.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. All this talking I'm doing.
Yeah, this is.
I don't know if I need no cold water today in a cold day in New England, but I guess we can make it work.
Look, it's been worse. It's been worse. Growing up, remember how we had to go to school? It'd be 12 inches of snow. It didn't matter. We still had to just go.
Nowadays, they got half an inch. School's canceled.
That's funny. But speaking of school, I didn't mention about your position in the school. Like, some know that I'm a teacher, but what's your position at the school? So I'm on the school committee. I've been on the school committee now for 6 years, going on 7 years. And I was an educator. I did do adjunct faculty work for some of the colleges locally as well. So I worked with 12th graders and 11th graders and then regular college folks. But yeah, I've been doing that work and that's been a challenge and a joy at the same time.
What does it entail? Like, what is your day-to-day?
So we manage a $560 million budget. About 3,000 staff we have to oversee and the superintendent and everything like that. And so you're always dealing with the issues that people are dealing with and complaints, the concerns, the challenges, and how do we continue to kind of guide. Because when you're a school board member, you really don't have a lot of power. You have certain things you can do and there's a lot of things you can't do. And so you do more influencing than you do anything else. Influencing, researching, advocating, than anything else. But what I can say is they don't pay us enough for what we do. That I can tell you. For the amount of time I spend doing the work, I get pennies. But I enjoy it. My kids are still in the schools and stuff like that. So I enjoy advocating and making sure that the things that we need to talk about that are directly affecting our kids and our community, that those things are being brought to the forefront.
Right.
And they're not always well received, but hey, who cares?
Right.
Yeah,
I ain't never been scared before. I ain't trying to start now.
Right. That's
I ain't never scared.
Yeah.
It can be. I know being in your role can be tough because people tend to look at you as though you're the decision maker, not fully understand. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Before I became a teacher, before you became, you were on the school committee, I didn't even realize that there was like a separate, like, you know, no one talks about the school committee.
Right.
You know, we don't really realize that we actually have them at arm's reach, that we can, you know, communicate. So just kind of give us, for people that don't know anything about like the school committee and things like that, is it actually like if a parent has an issue or something like that, or even a staff member or whatever, like, is there, like, what's the role of being on the school committee? Like, how could we?
So our first charge is to oversee and evaluate the superintendent. We hire them, we fire them, we evaluate them. The second charge is that there are a few positions outside of that we're supposed to approve, the hiring of, firing of, etc. Then there is the management of the budget. So we oversee the budget, make sure there's nothing major happening. If there is, we sign contracts and things. Whenever anybody signs contracts with the district, we have to approve those contracts. And then the last part of it is the legislation piece of it, policies, making sure that the policies are made and appropriate. If they're not, we amend them. And then if they're not being adhered to, that we are making sure that those things are being addressed. And I would say the last piece of it, not directly associated with our job, is to be the advocate for the families, for the students, and even for the staff. And so what happens is that if there's a problem and a parent reaches out to me, then I know the order of how they're supposed to do things. So I'll say to them, did you already talk to the teacher? Did you already talk to the principal? Whoever, and follow that chain of command. And if somebody did not do what they're supposed to do, then we address it. And if you did the chain of command and you have all of that documented, then let's address it with the superintendent. And then by us being those advocates, what happens is whenever there's an issue, it's brought up. Like, nobody is going to ignore when the school committee comes to the superintendent with an issue. Because now everything is being uncovered, and the superintendent always wants to make sure that they're doing a good job, or looks like they're doing a good job, so they're going to address any issues. So I always tell parents, feel comfortable to come to us regardless of how big or small you think the issue is, because if it's a systemic thing, we need to be addressing it. And if it's a specific thing to a school or a certain individual, then maybe those people need to be reprimanded and dealt with because they're not doing something properly, or they need to be trained. Not always is it negligent intentionally. Sometimes people just need certain training so that they can do things appropriately. So that, I would say that in a nutshell. It's nothing exciting or anything like that, but it is for parents to know, regardless of what district you live in, that there's a school board. You have a right to go to that school board and advocate for your students and for the other students that are in the district.
So let's dive a little bit into your nonprofit that you've been working with from the baby stage, and I think you're kind of in the infant stage now. So let's talk a little bit about Parent Villages.
We are a very bougie infant.
Bougie infant.
We're a bougie infant.
I like that.
I can say baby with a gold bottle. Like.
Exactly. And a gold bobo, okay? And I say that because most nonprofits that are 5 years old do not have a $500,000 budget.
Right.
That's why I say that. When you look at the data, less than 20% of organizations actually have more than a $500,000 budget that are nonprofits. So for us to be a nonprofit and have a $500,000 budget, give or take, that's a blessing. But it's also been a lot of hard work. And like you said, we started out with nothing. And I often tell people, like, the first $500 investment came from me and my husband. And only the parents that think like me are showing up to the meetings. Then we got to figure out, how do we get to the families that really need it? Because obviously they're not getting the information. And so once we did that, that's when we really started to be able to dig in, doing our research and all of that stuff. And then now we're in a space where we really understand the needs of our community. We understand how to target them, how to reach them, how to connect with them. And we're being funded to do the work. And we now have full-time staff members. We have part-time staff members. We have a great board. And we're looking to continue to enhance what our board is doing and who's going to be on our board, all of that good stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, we have this slogan, yes, it still takes a village, but transforming lives 2 generations at a time. That is what we do. We transform lives 2 generations at a time. It's not just about the child, it's not just about the parent. Together, when we transform families 1 family at a time, that's how you change a community. That's how you change a city. And so how do we do that? You know, is really the goal, you know, of the work that we do every day. And I love it. I love being a part of it. I love leading the ship. I love knowing that there was something that was planted in my heart that I wanted to do, and I'm seeing it come into fruition, and I'm watching it become sustainable. So soon we'll be a child, a bougie child.
Bougie child. Can you go into a little bit just for the community so they can know what Parent Villages does?
Yeah, so we build bridges. In essence, we build bridges connecting families to resources. And the thing I love is, like, in the last few years, we've been able to really hone in on the folks who are trauma, dealing with trauma, folks who are dealing with violence, the things that we experienced growing up, that we saw in the hood where we lived in, I'm able to look at those people and say, you know what, I call them historically inaccessible people. I'm like, you used to be inaccessible, but now you have people that understand where you're at, why you're there, how you got there, and we're not going to judge you as we help walk you out of that corner. And if you really want to move and you really want to grow, here we are to help you do that. And the blessing of it is that, no, we don't get to everybody, but we do change. People do come and say, you know what, I'm tired of coming to y'all just to get free gift cards and get my utilities paid or whatever. I need to change for my kids. I want my kids to go to college. I want to go back to college, And so being able to have workshops and entrepreneurial programming and financial literacy, not just for the adults, but for the kids. These kids are like asking questions about stock markets and how to invest in real estate. And some of our kids, one of our kids actually, we just connected to some real estate investors and contractors and stuff. And he's been shadowing and going with them and learning how do they move, how do they do what they do. And that's what it's about. Like, this is transforming our generations. And then parents are saying to us, well, you taught my kid about how to buy a house. I don't know how to buy a house. Can you teach me how to buy a house? So they come and, so it's like, whoever we get first, we don't care. We just want to help y'all help yourselves. It's not about giving you the fish. It's about teaching you how do you fish, and then teaching you that there's creative ways to do it. There's not just one way to fish, and we want you to understand that. And so that is everything to me, Parent Villages. And what I love is that it's not about us doing it all. Like, we work with different people who are the experts, and we bring them in. We don't try to be the expert at everything. But we bring in the professional marketers, the professional real estate investors, and all of that, and they get to educate our families. We bring in the therapists and all of that stuff, because the reality is, if you're going through trauma, you need a therapist. All of this taboo stuff in our Black and brown communities that, keep it at home. No, keeping it at home is why you got messed up. And why you stay broke. Because y'all ain't nobody in the house got money. So how you going to teach somebody about how to get something you don't have? So get into the village, get into the atmosphere so that we can teach one another. You cook good, bring that skill, because I can't cook, but I know how to teach you how to get a bank account, That's what being in a village is about. And so I love it, as you can tell.
How can people get in touch with Parent Villages if they need the help?
Wonderful website. As a matter of fact, our new website is about to launch. It should have launched Friday. We'll see if it's up yet. But parentvillages.org. They can go there, get all the information. If they want information on our events, parentvillages.org/events. We have an annual fundraiser that we do where we give out scholarships to students. And this year we're giving out scholarship to parents.
Yes.
Oh,
so we are, again, transforming generations, 2 generations at a time, transforming lives, because if we are only giving the kids and the parents get left behind, now we're saying to the parents, no, we're going to help you too. You want to go back to college?
Both at the same time.
You want to go to school? Yeah, you and your child might be going to the same school. You know what I'm saying? That's all right.
That's dope.
Because it's all about growth and development.
LaTonia, tell us, when do you actually give out the scholarships?
So we have this annual Education Matters event. It is, now we're going into our 6th year, and we honor unsung heroes, people who have been in the community, who have been toiling and towing the line, for our families and our kids, and we honor them in different categories. And we also have a prestige honoree, somebody who is retired now, and we honor them for their work. And then, of course, we raise a lot of money for the organization. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year. It allows us to do some things that we want to do that our funding doesn't always permit.
Let's talk about this book. As I've been reading, and as you know, like we took some of the steps that you mentioned, and so we got in our EIN and all of that, and that's why we have, Academy Out Productions, right? That's why we're here. Yes. So in order for us to do that, there were certain things that we needed to do, and so as I just was reading your book, it's not all like about just numbers, but you actually put like about your personal life or your experience and things like that. And so one of my favorite parts that kind of just really sticks to me is in chapter 5 when it's the conclusion, taking the step to build strong circles. Tell us, like, what do you mean by that? Because normally people think, oh, well, your circle is your family, who in your household, who you grew up with. So what do you mean by building like a strong circle?
Yes. So you said this in chapter 5, and I have to say that, first of all, Mission Rich and Profit Powered, I know Troy was talking about how much you love the title, and it's funny, this was not going to be the title. The title was actually going to be Mission Rich and Profit Poor. And that's because that's where most people are. They're profit poor, right? So I thought this was going to be, and I was going back and forth with my coach on it, and I said, no, it needs to be what I want people to become from reading this book. Not where you're at, but where you're going. Because what happens a lot of times is when we target the scarcity aspect of things, then that's what you attract. And instead of attracting people that want to grow, you attract people that are just in this situation. But everybody that's in a situation of being profit poor doesn't necessarily want to do the work to become profit powered. And so for folks who want to become profit powered, one of those major steps is what LaTasha's asking about, the strong circles. And so your strong circles are so important. And the reason why it's an S and not just one circle is because one circle doesn't define us. So for example, your family, your close-knit people that you love, that you trust, that's one circle, but the people in your community are not the same people all the time. So y'all are definitely in one of my closer circles, but there's people who are just in my community and they're good people and I love them and I know that they support me. I know they'll buy my book. I know they'll buy my services, but I can't cry with them in the middle of the night. Right. Because they don't understand that. They don't know how to see me in a broken state because they only see me when I'm whole and full of life and smiling. So having strong circles is very intentional because you have to be able to think about, where does this person land on my circles, if any? So there's like 5 different levels. Some people don't land in any of them circles. They're just like, hey, how you doing? Keep it moving. Because you know that you can't allow that toxicity or that mindset or that aura that they bring with them into your space, because it will kill you, and it can kill your brand, it can kill your mindset, it can kill your goals, right? It can cause you to procrastinate. So you're intentional about who you allow in certain aspects of your life and where you put them. And just because they're born to you or your sibling doesn't mean they're in your close circle. Sometimes your close circle are the people that you just find in life that you realize, like, I have a close friend down in Atlanta, Adrian, and she and I have been friends since middle school. And I tell you, if I call her at 2 o'clock in the morning, she's gonna pick it up. If I need something, she's gonna do it. She's gonna be there, and I'll do the same for her. She's in my close, tight circle. There's some people I see every day who will never be in my tight circle because I will never tell them my secrets. And so that's why it's having the circles, but knowing who's in it and being strategic about what you don't have in your circle that you need in your circle. So sometimes you might need somebody who is an older person who has wisdom, who, like for me, in order to be successful in marriage, I had to have people around me to mentor me that I wanted a marriage like what they have. Like I didn't, sometimes you see people and they have longevity, and that doesn't mean anything. Longevity is nothing if you're not happy. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be having peace and joy and all of that. So I found people that in my life have that. They have the longevity, or they have the dedication or the respect in their marriage and stuff. And I'm like, I want to learn from that. I want them in my circle here because I need to learn how to do that. I need to learn how to be that wife that my husband really needs in ministry and being a first lady and stuff like that. And so at the end of the day, your circles are everything. You know, there's that saying, your network is your net worth and vice versa, but not just when I think cash value, I think asset value, I think emotional value, I think spiritual value. All of those things come from your circle. And so I am just extremely intentional about who I let wear what proximity they are to me and to my heart, to my mind, to my thoughts, to my plans, to my strategies. Because people will steal your stuff, they'll run with it, think they're gonna do what you want to do, but they can't because God anointed you to do it. When God put something on you to do, only you can do it. But people will try and think they could get away with it, and they're gonna mimic it, but it's never gonna be like the original, you know?
Right.
So, but even with that, I don't want to go with that. You know, having that discernment and all of that stuff is important. So that's what it's about, you know. And I'm really touched that was a part of the book that really stood out for you, because a lot of people miss that. They want to bring people along who don't want to go along. They want to have people in their circle who are not ready to be in that space. They don't have the mindset. Right. You're trying to make somebody become something that they're like, I'm not it. I am a fish and I'm always going to be a fish, and you want me to be a cat. I'm never going to be a cat. Right. And when we learn that that's the person, they're never going to be a cat, I'm going to stop trying to make you a cat. Right. You know? Now, if you want to transform one day, then let's talk. But until then, you just going to be that fish. You know, in your little bowl with your little water, but I'm going with the whales. You know what I'm saying? In the big ocean. And so, but that's a mindset that you learn through that growth and opportunity. And I would say this is the last piece. I didn't mean to say all of this, but I guess all of this needs to be said.
Tell us, give it to us. Right? Drop all the nuggets.
I didn't mean to say it all, but I gotta say it. So let me just say this. Part of our transition in our circles has to do with more about thinking about ourselves than other people. A lot of times we hold on to people for the wrong reasons. Right. Right? It's not about them, it's about us. It's the comfort of knowing that somebody needs us, or feeling like we gotta be the savior, or we gotta do this and that. And we are so used to that, especially black people, black women are really, really bad for it. But black people in general, we have this thing where we feel like we have to be all things to people. Right. And so most of the times, the people that are currently in your circle, before you start to transform, are people that are pulling on you. That you're giving them more than you're getting from them. It's like, hey, I'm a plant and you're a plant, but you're getting all the water and I'm over here losing, I don't have anything, and you're not thinking about pouring back into me and what I need. Right. So this is not a level relationship. So part of those circles is that you know where people are. Like, you know that certain people you can't get anything from. I know that I get the majority of what I need from the people in my 2 or 3 inner circles. The people outside of that, maybe they give me something here and there, but most of the time it's me giving. And I know, because that's the kind of relationship we have. So it doesn't burn me out anymore when I'm working with them, because I'm like, okay, this person is here. I cut them off. I text them, whatever. I'm not available. I can tune it out and I can keep it moving. But when somebody is in your inner circle, they don't necessarily get cut off at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whenever my phone goes into do not disturb, right? Because there's a difference in the relationship and what I get out of that relationship and what I'm given in that relationship. I know that the people in my 2 or 3 closest circles are gonna feel me. They're gonna give me something that can help keep me moving. And so when you talk about how do you decide who to get out of your circle, who is pulling out of me and taking from me, and every time I get around them I feel depleted and they're not refilling. That's immediately number one. Here's my boundary. You don't do anything but give me a headache and stress me out. So you gotta go. Because how can I be healthy if I'm sick because you keep making me sick every time I get around you? So that's just that. Because my self-care is more important than anything to me. And when I say self-care, I don't mean selfish. Now, some people take self-care to the next level. I ain't talking about being selfish. What I'm saying is that you got to set boundaries for yourself to be able to think, to be able to function, to be able to plan, to be able to strategize. And if you always coming in my time and taking up 2 or 3 hours and don't understand why I need to have space to strategize, then you're not for me.
You know, it's interesting because one thing in this, actually not in this book, maybe it'll be in the next book, but like we've had conversations, you know, as you being my older sister, and one thing you've taught me was that just because you have money in the bank don't mean you have it. Right. You know, because oftentimes people want to, oh, can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? Can I borrow this? Yeah. And then you notice it's the same people always borrowing, but it's like you begin to have, instead of having them borrow from you, you actually teach them how to save their money. you know?
Exactly. And because what happens is you become an enabler.
Right.
You're enabling people to stay in their mess and in their lack of responsibility and lack of accountability. And now they're going to keep doing it because they can rely on you to resolve their issue.
Can we drop a mic on that one?
Yes.
We need a mic drop. We need a mic drop on that one.
It's really important that this is what Mission Rich is about. The fact that we have so much to give to people and we want to give it and we want to pour it out.
Right.
The profit power part comes because we set boundaries and we start to capitalize on the parts of us that are strong and great and wonderful and restrict ourselves in the areas where it becomes a default or a detriment to us.
Right.
So giving too much is a detriment because you become a martyr.
Right.
And most of the time when you become a martyr, it's for people that could care less.
Right.
Like after they wear you out, they're gonna just find somebody else just like you to go wear out next. So when you set boundaries, you're like, oh, I already see who you are. I already know who you are. I already know what you want. So let me give you this penny. And when I say penny, give you a penny for your thoughts. This about all the information you're getting out of me because I already know what you're gonna do. You're gonna just keep coming, leeching, trying to pull. You don't value my time. You don't want to pay for my services. That's okay. I'm a giver.
Right.
So I'm gonna give you something, but I'm not gonna give you what I would if I knew that you really valued me the way that I should be. So my first testament and the reason why I did the book, I had people coming to me saying they need services, but I would give them 15 minutes free.
Right.
And they would not show up. They would miss the call, no show. How do you miss a call when I charge $200 an hour, $300 an hour, whatever, and I'm giving you free time and you won't take it? So you don't value. So I'm like, okay, here you go. Get the book. $20, $25 with shipping.
Off of what?
Amazon.com, missionrichandprofitpower.com. Okay. Go directly to my site, get the book. If you want a signed copy, that's where you gotta go. I'm putting something, I'm holding you accountable. So when you start holding people accountable, oh, just give me a call. Oh, send me that in writing. Now you realize they ain't serious because they ain't sending it to you in writing. They ain't giving you no call. So that means I don't have to do anything for you right now because you're not serious. But when you're serious, you're going to buy the book. When you're serious, you're going to email me. When you're serious, you're going to follow up. And now that's how I set my boundaries. So it's because I got to a place. Remember I said in the beginning, our circles are for us. I got to a place where I said, I value me.
Okay.
So these are the strategies that I put in place to get there. You know what I mean? And that's what I want people to learn. So, yes, Troy.
Thank you.
I want you to be reading about it, and I'm not getting the book back.
Listen,
that's a gift.
I would love.
Now, wait, can I say this real quick? Troy helped me a lot with a lot of my social media and stuff like that. And so I am a person that's like, look, if you pour into me, I'm going to pour into you. So that is my gift to you. Thank you for everything that you've done for me.
You're welcome.
Oh. Okay, before we get sentimental.
We already got sentimental.
I know, but just last key thing. Do you have classes?
I do.
Oh, come on. Give us the spill. Let us know where we can find this.
Yes.
Like, give us the spill.
So I just started. I'm actually having info sessions coming up next week and the week after. I started something called Mission Rich Academy. And so that's going to allow people to come in at different levels to get consulting every month, to be a part of classes that I'm doing. And then I also have a coaching program that I'm getting ready to launch. And that will literally walk people through all the modules in the book. It will have modules in alignment with it, but walk people through exactly how do you do a business plan, exactly how do you write a grant, exactly how do you do your mission statement and stuff like that, so that they have some professionals. It won't just be me. Now this is the key thing. I have a team of some very talented people that understand this work, and they will also be a part of those coaching sessions.
Name drop or
yes, Mike Connolly, Standout Truck, of course, has Marketing Cupcakes magazine, so he's definitely one of them that I can easily name drop. I have some work coming out with Jasmine Naylor Enterprises. She did this Work to Profit conference last year and the year before, and then Cindy Gaynor Harper with DFG Investment. And so they are some fabulous individuals. They know their stuff, and so this will not just be a LaTonia only. I don't teach people how to collaborate with like-hearted people for nothing. I do the same thing. And I have a wonderful team of people that I've collaborated with, and look forward to collaborating with y'all a little bit more as well.
But
Absolutely.
Of course. I love it. I just want to say I'm just so happy that you came on to our podcast, Counting Me Out Productions.
Yes.
It has been a pleasure with you being here.
Thank you.
And so I guess we could just go ahead and close that out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so I just appreciate you. I'm Mz Tash.
Trizzmatic.
And we have LaTonia Monroe Naylor here as our guest. And you have tuned in to Counting Me Out Productions podcast, where when others count you out, we count you in.
Yes.
You killed that. 5 minutes.
Nah, you killed
So
that.
cold.
Nah, you killed
So
that.
cold that
Nah, you killed that.
my hands is numb.
Yo, it's Trizzmatic from Counting Me Out Productions. I hope y'all love that episode. Stay tuned for next week's episode featuring Platinum Billboard award-winning producer / recording engineer Avery on the beat.
Hour about one project at a time. You know, and he would be telling me about Tupac, Biggie, DMX, and the importance of DMX specifically. But everybody hits their rock bottom. So, you know, originally I was, fuck this, I'm depressed, I'm upset, I'm doo-doo-doo, and I'm just, you know, in the rock bottom. It's like when you growing up as a man with a disability, you know, masculinity and all that is a thing that plays in your head. Mind you, I wasn't raised by my father, an uncle that shook my hand a little too hard.
Yeah, we here with a boy.
Avery on the beat.
All right, you come to see us, Counting Me Out Productions.
Don't you remember counting me out? Born in December, know what I'm about.
I hope y'all enjoyed that preview. I'm telling you, Avery on the beat is the real deal. You don't want to miss this episode. It's going to be straight fire. Again, my name is Trizzmatic. This is Counting Me Out Productions. And we signing off. Peace.
In this black mama style, put the venom in 'em.